Welcome to the Passion for Patients podcast. I'm Tonya Winders, your host and the president and CEO of GAP, 130 patient advocacy organizations working all across the world to ensure that people live better and breathe better. And today I'm so excited to welcome our guest here in studio, Dani Gillis. Welcome, Dani.
Thank you.
She is the brand manager for Executive Brand Growth and has been helping us actually at GAP to establish what is our brand, what is the brand of the Passion for Patients podcast. And so today we're going to talk a bit about social media, tips and tricks, secrets to really being successful in your social media activity as a patient advocacy organization. So welcome. So glad that you're here.
Thank you. I'm so glad to be here. Thank you for inviting me on.
Yeah. So I want to start, because I start always the same way. Like, what sort of got you into even thinking maybe that you would work with patient advocacy organizations and maybe being a passionate patient advocate in your own life?
Yeah, absolutely. So my first experience, I think, with truly understanding what it means to be a patient advocate is, like, I was 13. My grandma got diagnosed with Alzheimer's and dementia, and she ended up having to go into assisted living. And we realized very quickly that, you know, because we weren't the ones taking care of her, it was other people. We weren't going to be around all the time to see. We realized that there were necessary qualifications a place has to have, standards, the type of people that work there, also just in the culture of the people that work there. Like, are they passionate, like truthfully passionate about caring for people? Because that's really the difference. Because if they are just doing it as a job, well, you don't want your loved one with someone who's just doing a job. Like, that's just the truth of it. And we ended up going, you know, I think it was at 3 separate locations until we found one. Yeah, that truly was meant for people with the similar condition. It was amazing. People were talking so highly of it. So we finally had moved her into there, and just they did an amazing job for the fact that I know it wasn't easy, and that job never is. So that was my first experience of, like, patient advocacy, whether the patient can do it for themselves or
if
their
the
loved
family
ones,
has
if
to.
the family has to, like, just what it has to look like, what are the requirements. That's my first exposure to that.
Well, and a lot of our GAP members, a lot of the people listening in today on the podcast, actually that's their journey. The way that they started their organization was because of a loved one that was facing these conditions, or because they themselves were, you know, encountering these chronic health conditions that they felt like they had to stand up for. So it's oftentimes life is our greatest teacher, right? And I think that's what I hear you saying. Yeah. So thank you for coming and sharing that about your own story, your own family. And, you know, as we get started, I really want to kind of turn to social media because again, 130 patient advocacy organizations all over the world, different social channels, a lot of opportunity to build our communities, to engage our communities. But how do we even get started with that whole idea of what channels to be on, how frequently to engage, all those good things? Help us understand.
Yeah, absolutely. So I think the number one thing that any organization is going to want to try and get is awareness. And the best way to do that is by trying to appeal to all the platforms first, because you're kind of in that testing format where you're trying to understand, you know, who is your main audience going to be, like, who are your participants, who are going to eventually be your champions of your organization. And that takes a little testing at first of, like, where are they hanging out essentially on platforms. Yep. So the first stage is awareness, and the frequency, I always like to say, like, as much as you can to stay consistent, because consistency over frequency, but, like, the more you can do. So for some, like, it might be 3 times a week. That's their cap. Like, they can keep 3 posts a week consistent. Then do that. Some, it's 5 days a week. Yeah. It just depends, but I would say over frequency is consistency. Because you're kind of allowing your community to depend on you to post, to release new information, and it's gaining that trust, which is so important, I think.
Yeah, I think trust is the foundation of any relationship, right? But especially when we're talking about online, because you have to be consistent, you have to be credible. We always advocate for our patient orgs to use really credible sources and make sure that you're promoting evidence-based approaches to healthcare as the patient expert, right? And so any other best tips or practices specifically for healthcare nonprofits that you would offer?
I would say, I'd honestly say this for anyone, but it is especially for organizations that are nonprofit. It's authenticity. And you just kind of said it. It's to build trust. The authenticity of your posts need to be at an all-time high. It needs to be who you're with. They have to advocate for the same things that you do truthfully. And trust is everything, especially when starting to build an online community. I would also say engaging a lot. So if someone leaves a question, if someone leaves a comment, responding to all of them at first. Obviously as it grows, it gets more difficult, especially if thousands and thousands of comments are coming in. But especially at first, you're putting that groundwork in. You need to be responding to these people and really letting them know that you care, that yes, it's an organization, but it's an organization still of human beings, So just humans treating other people like humans.
And I always say we have to connect with the heart first, but also balance the head, because there are people that are led emotionally, people that are led logically. Yeah. And so knowing that both of those things are very important.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah. So then thinking about growing engagement on social platforms. So we launch our Facebook, our YouTube, our LinkedIn, whatever the platform may be, thinking about different target audiences. But then how do we grow it? Because I think that is, again, with limited resources, what we hear is it's the same 5 or 6 people, maybe dozen, 2 dozen engaging on social. How do I get more voices, more engagement?
Right. I would honestly say analytics. And this is where you use the majority of your head power. You have to take your emotions out of it, because I know sometimes even for myself, I'll be like, oh, I love this type of video I've been making and putting out. You have to take your emotions out of it and just look at the data. Every platform offers free analytics, which is amazing. Yes. There are other sites as well that do provide a monthly payment, like a subscription. They're not too bad. But if you wanted to stay on the free side of things to try out and understand what analytics you're looking at, every platform offers free analytics. And you go through and you see, okay, what video or post, whatever it was, got the highest views, engagement in terms of comments and likes, shares. I would say the most important thing to look at, though, is ratios. So from the amount of people who saw your stuff, what was the ratio to liking it? And then to engaging in it with comments and shares. That's the most important thing, is honestly the engagement of sharing and commenting, because that's getting your community together. That's getting them to speak.
To do something.
Yeah. It's not just a double tap heart. It's They're telling you their emotions, their feelings, their questions. Those are the best ones to look out for, because those are going to help build your community even stronger online. So that's always where to grow. And then you see what works and you replicate it. And you make little fine-tune adjustments on it. You can do research and look at other people who are also trying to do their own organization and grow a similar type of structure. See what works for them, and then put your own spin on it. So yeah, that would be my recommendation.
Yeah, I always say, what is the saying about the greatest form of flattery is just really copying, right? Yeah. I mean, it is like knowing what is hitting in other spaces and replicating it, duplicating it in a way that is true and authentic to your voice. Because I think that's the other aspect on social. Like, people see through the BS. They really do see through that when it's not authentic.
Absolutely.
So, again, I think that a lot of our members out there, people listening in, probably are thinking, okay, so how do I get started? Like, what are some of the maybe tools or resources, low cost, no cost, that can help me if I'm brand new in this? Or is there a way to maybe outsource this that is affordable? So, yeah.
Absolutely. So getting started, I would say, I'm about to plug my own company, but that is what we do, is we help businesses get started. Yep. So we get together with them and we try to help to understand, like, what are their goals as a brand? What did they see as success? Because for a lot of people, it's awareness. For a lot of people, it's conversion. Like, they're offering a product and views turn to likes, turn to converting and buying the product.
Yeah.
So success looks different depending on the business. And so once we have that goal, then we help them develop a campaign to release content in order to achieve that goal.
So start with the end in mind, have a plan.
Yes.
And begin to work that plan, is what I hear you say.
Absolutely. And as far as, like, if you're just starting out and you're like, I don't even know how to outsource, I don't even know if that's what I want to do yet, that's fine. I would say start all of your platforms, get that set up first, and then just start making videos. Like, the best thing to do is to just start. Your first videos are going to be your worst videos. I can attest. If you look back to my beginning stuff, it does not look good. But we all start somewhere. And I think that once you start, the fear dwindles.
Yes.
Because
the more you do it, the more it's like exercising a muscle and it becomes more natural, right? So you talked about video specifically. Video has just taken off, right? It's the way that most people are digesting and really getting their content now. Why is that? Like, what's the right length and kind of tone and all that kind of stuff typically for video?
I think video has kind of gone up to the top because it does allow people to see if it's authentic or not. Yeah. That, like, there's no mixing of words. Like, you're not reading through a text trying to decipher the tone. You can hear the tone. Right. You can see the facial reactions. You can see the body language. And it just allows people to feel more connected, which is why it has skyrocketed like it has. And I think it also helps just build a message and a story, especially if you're trying to advocate a theme of some kind. Like, it just allows you to do that.
Length, like 1 to 2 minutes or longer? What's kind of your recommendation there?
It really depends. If you're looking to educate people, really I would say that YouTube likes the long formats, and just overall, like, teaching. If you're looking to learn, teach something on YouTube. Yeah. If you're looking, for more of an aesthetic space or just like a lifestyle, like trying to understand different lifestyles, you go to TikTok, which is typically 60 seconds or less, but there is an option for, I believe, 3 minutes. It just kind of depends per platform, but if you're looking to teach someone, I would go to the platform that thrives on teaching, and I would always stick to long format just so it's not super vague. Or if you're doing a short form, also provide the long form so people are like, oh, I'd love to learn more about it. Well, great, there's a long form video for you.
Next up. Yeah, a little deeper.
Yes, exactly.
Right. Yeah, well, that's great. So now thinking about any of the tools, I know for us, we at Gap have chosen to work with an outsourced partner on our social media management because we didn't have that internal resource. And everybody thinks, oh, that's super costly. But there's networks out there of people that will volunteer for nonprofits. There's, resources that people can tap into, even if you don't have much financial base to build that off of. But I think it is important about identifying an expert, because this is a space. I often laugh, right? I got my marketing degree in 1994. I'm going to age myself. Marketing in 1994 is completely different than marketing in 2024, right? There wasn't even such a thing as social platforms at that point. So really recognizing where your own limitations are and like connecting with the experts is kind of my end all be all when it comes to social media management for our patient advocacy groups out there, because otherwise I feel like you can spend a ton of time and waste a lot of money on something that isn't hitting with your community.
Right. And it's absolutely okay to outsource as well. And I think that that's, like, some people, they feel like they're somehow going to lose their authenticity by outsourcing that. I don't necessarily think so. Like, it's still you. It's still you talking. It's still your organization speaking. It's just maybe like you don't have to learn how to operate a camera or like distribute the content, edit it, decide when and where it's going to be posted. Like, it's still going to be you. Yeah. And I would say like the best sources to start looking towards, understanding what's necessary, whether you want to do it in-house, whether you want to outsource it. We offer like a ton of free education, essentially, like on our YouTube and our Instagram and our TikTok. We do the same things that I just spoke of, where it's like we will put out short form, so that way you can, see if you're interested in a certain topic. But we have long formats on YouTube, and it's just us sharing the strategy. Yeah. And we don't always want everyone to feel that it's like a sale. It's a constant sale. We're like, no, we want to help you understand. Like,
but sometimes you do have to give away a little bit on the free side to then build something into a paid. And I think that that's the other aspect of like balancing and knowing, okay, I'm going to give a little to get a lot on a different, level of engagement is kind of the key there too. So, as we kind of begin to think about different channels, right? And you mentioned this a bit before, like TikTok, more lifestyle. Facebook, probably more the over 40 crowd. Let's just be honest. That's where they are. Instagram, we tend to think kind of what I'm going to say sounds kind of controversial, and it's not meant as a bad way. It's just it is what it is. I think that Instagram is more flashy and clout-based. So once you have that community, more people are going to be likely to see it. Yes. Like, so getting to that point is very difficult because it is clout-based. Yeah. But it's still extremely beneficial because of collaborations. Yeah. It allows you to collaborate with partners. And as a nonprofit organization, like working with other people, you can clearly be like, hey, I collaborated with this person, and it's showing up on both people's accounts. Yes. It's showing that you're paired together and associated together. I love that feature. And I think that that's like extremely beneficial and still should be, Instagram should still be attacked just like any other platform. And then like LinkedIn, we often say that's kind of more your B2B, your business to business or professional network, right? So if we're putting out things for our physician community, for example, that's a lot of times where that content is hitting best and resonating most. YouTube definitely, I think, has just moved up the rankings as far as the level of engagement. And there's the YouTube Health channel. We're putting out a lot more content there. And then in other countries, things like WeChat are the more, universal platform for engagement. I think, knowing, again, your community, where they are, meeting them where they are in the journey is super important. And then that credibility and consistency. I go back to knowing what your end game is, where do you want to be, and then having a plan to get there consistently is so important in what you've said. So we're coming up to the end of our time. Any kind of final words you might say or encouragement to those that are out there, really plugging away, trying to get things going. Do you have to spend money to really have successful social? I think is one of the questions that comes.
No.
Yeah.
No, not at all. You don't need to spend money. You just have to spend time. You're spending something.
Yes.
So if you don't want to spend money, you're going to spend time.
Yep.
And that's okay too.
Yep.
But there are so many free resources out there. And like I said earlier, we give resources. We give strategy. We just sell our execution. So that's our difference, is we're not going to gatekeep knowledge. If you want to learn and do it for yourself, we are not going to stop you. We encourage it. But if you decide, you do want help, we're here.
Yeah.
We're still here. But you don't need to spend money. You just need to spend time and consistency. That's the best thing I can say. And if you're afraid to start, I was afraid to start. I'm the head of brand of a media company, and I was still afraid to start. And if I could do it and get to where I am now, so can you.
I think that is the key, right? Anyone can do this. And as we close this episode, I just want to thank you, Dani, for sharing so much of your expertise and insight. It's been super helpful for our members and listeners out there. The way that you are passionate for the work you're doing and for patient advocacy, right? It's really inspiring to us. And thank you for standing in the gap with us today for those members. I also want to thank you, our listeners, for tuning in and for, really engaging. You'll find that we've got links and connections to some of the resources that Dani's talked about here on the podcast, here on our passionforpatients.com website, as well as the gap.org website. We have other Gap Academy sessions on social media, tips and tricks. And the main thing is just do something. Get started. Don't be afraid of social media. It really is a great place to connect, first with the heart and with the head, and to really grow your engagement among your community. So until next time, thank you, have a great day, and stay passionate.